pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As customary, have a moment of silence, please. And I guess in your thoughts, for the people who still don't have power around the South Shore or even North Shore, that they get it soon.
Turn on your mic, Dan.
I need to announce that this meeting is being on cable tonight, and publicized. I need a motion to approve bill and payroll warrant.
Second.
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 Any discussion on it? All in favor? Accept the correspondence in the refile.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody here who wishes to speak in public forum on something that's not on the agenda? It's not. I thought you were gonna get up and speak. Approve the meeting minutes of open session February 20th, 2018.
Second.
Any discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
New business. Finance Committee update on the budget process. Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do appreciate the opportunity to come before Selectmen and update the progress of the Finance Committee. With the recent appointment of Rosemary Connolly, the board now has no vacancies, and we've been meeting every week with the department heads. Also with the Whitman Regional School District and the South Shore VOTEC. I think the most pressing concern that we have as a committee is the fact that we believe we have a spending problem here in the town of Whitman. And Dave has prepared some information, gave you copies of some of the draft warrant articles, and we're going to go over those in detail. But there's a number of departments that continue to come to budget meetings with extraordinary expectations. I think we need to work together to change the mentality of, okay, here's what I want, I need, find a way to pay for it. The message has to get out there that as a community, with a very limited business tax base and taxpayers that are really stretched thin, we have to get the message out that here's what we have. Try to make it work for your budget is really where we need to go. So I don't want to say that the sky is falling, but we need to take a look at some of the major capital projects that are coming up within the next 5 to 10 years. And like I said, I'll give a little bit of an overview, and then Vice Chair Dave Cordero is going to give some more specifics on items that are on the warrant for you. So some of the major things, a DPW facility, I mean, this project is long overdue. We've had town employees working in conditions that are really not safe, and for a long time. The Whitman Regional School District has 48 capital projects in the matrix for our elementary and middle schools, with a total liability of $2.3 billion. There are 30 projects at Whitman Hanson totaling almost $2 million. We have 2 dams that are really at the end of their useful life. And in a few short years, we're looking into an SBA application to begin addressing our middle school here at Whitman. So these are some of the things that are above ground. Some of the things that are below ground are just as concerning. We've had 2 forced sewer main breaks in the last 2 years, and these 2 breaks alone cost in excess of $800,000. So we need to develop a long-term plan to address the sewer system that we put in place 33 years ago, and we've really done little to maintain it. And we really need to make sure that it's going to be around for another 33 years. So in summary, I just want to say that, you know, we appreciate the opportunity to come together and have a discussion, but we really need to get the spending into control, I think, is the bottom line. So Again, I have Dave Cordero, Vice Chair, has got some specific information as well.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. Thanks, Rick. Again, I'd just like to say on behalf of the Finance Committee, thank you for taking the time to have this joint meeting. As mentioned by Mr. Anderson, the FinCom is here to briefly outline the warrant articles potentially slated for town meeting in May, and describe to the Board of Selectmen how the need for these warrant articles have been presented to the FinCom by the department heads and by the town administrator. And like Rick, I've prepared a statement. Fiscal year 19 will end up being a very active budget year, with a special town meeting in December 2017, where the town approved $173,000 in salary additions and increases, along with a $4.3 million in capital spending. Another town meeting is scheduled for March for $277,000 for improvements to the high school for pre-K. Currently, for fiscal year 2019, we have 48 warrant articles as of last week. They've been increased since, potentially slated for May town meeting. This doesn't take into the $500,000 warrant articles for the school district, nor the town's district, the school district's assessment to the town, or deficit spending for the snow plowing. When all anticipated draft warrant articles are considered, we estimate that this represents over $2.6 million in excess of the town's budget. Okay. So, everyone should have this document here. This is 49 of the warrant articles. Like I said, the school committee has presented to the capitals committee, and that has now increased, but I did not include those in this presentation tonight. I've organized them I've reorganized them in a manner that makes it easier to discuss similar items. And since some of the warrant articles are associated with debt already approved by the town, bylaw ordinances, state money transfers, or non-financial in nature, I've excluded them from this presentation to hopefully make it shorter. But we may address those in our next joint meeting. As a matter of record, I guess I don't need to name the article numbers since they're in draft format as of now. As I go forward, I'll pause, but after every warrant article for any questions or discussions. Okay. So what is listed is Article 19. I started with an outline of kind of a contractual administrative costs. Article 19 is for $30,000 for firefighter personal protective gear. The chief has stated that some of the firefighters' PPE has extended its life expectancy and require replacement. The fire chief also stated that he's trying to create a cycling out program where the PPE replacement doesn't occur at the same time, therefore not creating a huge burden every time this purchase is needed. And it's our understanding that this is a contractual matter. Article listed as 41 involves appropriation of sum of money to address additional labor hours associated with collective bargaining between the town and town employees. Again, it's our understanding that the collective bargaining is the sole responsibility of the Board of Selectmen, and reserve comment. Article 30, the town administrator has proposed appropriating $20,000 to conduct civil service approved promotional assessments. It's our understanding that there's no current exam for senior appointments, and these costs for assessments are primarily for future police chief and deputy chief. Next, Article 42, I call salary adjustments. It involves appropriating a sum of money to increase compensation to employees based on the Edward J. Collins Center for Public Management Institute Wage and Classification Study, what's been referred to as the Collins Report. It's our understanding that the town administrator is currently evaluating the report and has not released that at this time. Next category, starting with Article number 23, I call additions to department infrastructure and fleet and capital requests. Article 23, 24, and 25 involve the purchase of 2 vehicles, one police administrative vehicle and one police cruiser, along with the required equipment. It's our understanding that there's been no mention of retiring vehicles in the police fleet at this time, so these vehicles would represent an increase to the police fleet. Article 16 involves the purchase of a fire department utility vehicle. It's been described as an upgrade to an existing vehicle for the transportation of transporting equipment. Article 18. The fire chief has proposed the allocation of $300,000 to remodel the Armory building. As you can see in the draft warrant, the fire chief has outlined his reasoning for additional space, which appears to be a direct result of added personnel, which the town recently approved. According to the fire chief, the $300,000 figure is based on a walkthrough meeting with the building inspector. No exact breakout of costs were provided, and it's our understanding that the chief has not discussed this in the past as a planned expenditure. Also, what hasn't been presented to the FinCom were, the annual operating costs, potential long-term maintenance, and Americans with Disabilities Act issues typically associated with older buildings. Articles 9, 10, and 11. This starts the category which I consider purchases without extended debt. Board of Public Works Commissioners have proposed the purchase of 2 pickup trucks along with a truck cab and chassis to upgrade an existing vehicle. These combined costs total approximately $213,000. The DPW has stated that these pickup purchases are to replace existing 1999 vehicles and that the truck cab and chassis will extend the life of an existing vehicle. It's our understanding that the DPW has acquired 3 new vehicles over the past 3 years. The Board of Public Works Commissioners have proposed the purchase of a flare brush mower for the purpose of clearing utility easements in the amount of $21,000. It's been explained to the FinCom that this piece of equipment is part of a long-term maintenance program, and the funding source would come from the sewer water retained earnings and not affect the general budget. The Board of Health has Article 14. The Board of Health has proposed the purchase of a Sharps collection kiosk in the amount of $3,000. It's been explained to the FinCom that the Board of Health currently provides the service and that this equipment would be an upgrade to the current collection method and mitigate any inherent hazards with providing this service. Article 20, $17,947,000. For the purchase of a fire department self-contained breathing apparatus, which been explained to us have extended their life expectancy. These costs are associated with potential grant money. Article 21, both the fire chief and the police chief have proposed the appropriation of $387,260 for a new public safety radio network. It's been described to the FinCom that this is part of a long-term upgrade to the system. What hasn't been presented to the FinCom is any alternatives that have been, no alternatives been proposed. And also any future operating and maintenance costs haven't been presented to the FinCom. So we don't know the long-term liability associated with that. Articles 26, 27, and 28. The fire chief has proposed the purchase of new tasers, new rifles, and shotguns, and ammunition for a combined amount of $31,870. It's not been explained to the FinCom why these costs, at least the shotguns and the ammunition, were not acquired included under the police department's general budget. Article 29. The police chief has proposed the purchase of a portable piece of equipment to assist their duties when responding to the public who are hard of hearing in the amount of $1,995. It's our understanding that this is part of a required for all police departments. And next, I consider these next articles technology related. Article 31, the Director of Technology has proposed the purchase of 30 Microsoft Office licenses in the amount of $10,000. Article 46, the Director of Technology has proposed the purchase of 100 remote desktop user licenses in the amount of $8,500. Article 33, the Director of Technology has proposed the purchase of header packages to upgrade the police and fire websites in the amount of $4,700. In Article 34, the Town Administrator had proposed to appropriate $11,000 for the codifying and digitation of the town bylaws. It's our understanding that the bylaws were last codified in 1973. And next, we have Article 32, which starts category I consider equipment replacement or miscellaneous repairs. Article 32, the Director of Technology has proposed to replace a malfunctioning printer in the amount of $11,000, which would then be replace one that would go to the library, and then that libraries would then be trashed. Article 35, the Board of Library Trustees has proposed to appropriate a sum of money to recarpet the town library. The library was last recarpeted in 2006. The Board of Library Trustees has proposed to appropriate a sum of money to repair the town library's roof. Article 37, the Facilities Manager has proposed to appropriate $15,650 to make masonry repairs to the Town Hall. Article 38, the Facilities Manager has proposed to appropriate $7,500 to remove asbestos in the area of the Town Hall. And Article 39, the Facilities Manager has proposed to appropriate $9,000 for the seal coating of various parking lots throughout the town. We have next article, next category is the miscellaneous category, Article 40. The town administrator proposed to appropriate $280,000 for the acquisition of streetlights and the upgrade to LED. It's our understanding that the town of Whitman would then be responsible for the maintenance of these lights, a figure that has not yet been determined. However, the town administrator anticipates a significant yearly savings on electricity. Since the funding source would come from the street light account, doesn't appear that there'll be a direct budget effect on the budget. Article 47, the Director of Technology has proposed the purchase of installation of 6 video surveillance cameras in the amount of $5,000. Lastly is just the stabilization investment. Leftover monies, the town administrator has, in a Director of Technology, proposed to appropriate sums of money into various stabilization accounts. I went through that pretty fast. At this time, we're reserving any judgment. We have a lot of days ahead of us of meetings and probably re-meetings with department heads. But again, just to summarize, the department heads have brought forth a lot of warrant articles in a year where we've had special town meetings that have already affected the town's budget. And I wanted to repeat what I mentioned at the beginning. When all warrant articles are considered, we estimate that they represent about $2.6 million in excess dollars in excess of the town's budget. If all draft warrant articles were put forth and passed at the town meeting, it would have a devastating effect on the town and make it impossible for departments to provide services at their current levels. With that said, the FinCom is going to work diligently with department heads and the town administrator to put forth our best recommendations for the town.
Dave,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you very much. I mean, you're really on to it. I have a couple of questions. The $2.6 million over budget, does that also include Article 2,
Yes.
Yes.
right? Because it's my understanding that if all these articles were approved and we went with the $2.6 billion, we're looking at raising taxes in this town from anywhere from $500 to over $1,000 a year for households.
I don't know the exact figure, but correct.
That's not going to happen.
Well, I think we really need to look at some of the Article 2 numbers as well, because some of the issues that we have, or the questions that we have, are related to salary recommendations or requests as well.
I agree with you 100%. I think what we need to do is look at and make the judgments between needs and wants. That right now, we have to deal with the needs, because I know I'm a big proponent on infrastructure and making sure that things are corrected. We'll say like the sewer pipes and buildings that need to be corrected, because what costs $1 today is going to cost $5 tomorrow. So that needs to be taken care of. As far as some of the Article 2 issues, as far as, like you say, increases and stuff like that, I think, Frank, once the FinCom has looked at it and we've come up with some prices, that a department heads meeting, we should have a department heads meeting and discuss the entire Article 2 and what people are looking for before it's printed on the warrant, unless they want to maintain it and argue on town hall floor.
We typically do that. This warrant, as you look at it today, and as Dave noted by jumping around, is chaotic because it's simply a draft of every article received.
Right.
This will not be the final product. Certainly, there are some I can pick off the top of my head that aren't going to be there. But it's going to involve reviewing and analyzing. The first pass is tell us what you need.
Right.
Second pass is tell us what you really need. As you know, last Thursday, we met with Whitman Hanson and added 9 school articles. They're on the bottom of your warrant, and I'll quickly spin through them. Security at the Duval School, $35,000. Security at the Conley School, $35,000. Both of these are improvements that will create a sectioned area in the entryway so people can't walk into the school and go through it. They'll be stopped at the area before the office. Fire panel at the Conley School, it's time. Cameras at the Duval School, they would like to upgrade and add security camera system so they can, in an event, see what's going on. Exterior door and card access replacement for the buildings, rear doors and places where people typically prop a door open. Rooftop units at the middle school, a couple of them. Univents, and then 2 big ones at the high school. A roadway repair, which is our share, would be $125,622. And then resurfacing the outdoor track, our share would be $134,595. So there's a lot to look at here.
Absolutely.
And we'll address what's essential before we get to the final analysis. And typically, we come in within $25,000 to $50,000 of our estimated levy. And typically, when we go to set the tax rate and do our classification hearing, we find there's more because there's growth that we're not aware of until that final work is done. But there's been a trend. In 2015, it was $1.4 million excess levy that we didn't even know about. We fixed that the next year by bringing it down to $1.1 million. The following year by bringing it down to 770, and this year bringing it down to 300. We do have some disturbing trends in terms of taxable property. The reason we had that huge growth was National Grid made a significant investment in their equipment. Unlike real property, it depreciates. I estimated $8 million a year. First year we lost 6, the second year we lost 8. Last year we lost 9. This year we're losing $19 million. Now what happens, that levy capacity doesn't go away, it shifts. So the tax value of that $19 million is $300 and some odd thousand. That $300,000 will come off National Grid's bill and go on the residential property bills. That's the consequence of distributing assessments. So we've got a lot of work to do.
And looking at the sheet that you prepared, I mean, we get 60,000 snow and ice deficit spending. So
We have more
that
than
comes
that
right
now.
off, right,
That
that's what it
just
states
hasn't
here,
been
so you know it's more than that because it's a large storm, we haven't got all the bills yet. So that's gonna come right off, that'll come right off the bottom line.
Correct.
So I mean, that even makes it worse. You guys, your committee has a huge job ahead of you, and once you and Frank and you come across with some numbers that you think we can live with, that the town can live with, we should have another meeting and discuss it. And then a department heads meeting as far as giving them a chance to say, okay, look, I understand, take this off, whatever. You know, let them make the choice. If they want to argue on town hall floor, we go with it. And you just tell them the facts. It's
Right.
that simple.
Well, I think it's important too to mention that the finance committee still is yet to meet with a few departments, and this is a first pass, but I just want to kind of lay it out there that, we really need to work together. And,
Right.
we still haven't met with the capital committee, and, we're looking to obviously work cohesively with them and this board.
Right.
To make some solutions here. And we just don't want to lay out problems, we want to help make some solutions as well.
I'm also looking at Article 2, as you mentioned earlier, of some of the increases in wages that some department heads are looking at, are just a little heavy, and that will have to be discussed. If not on town hall floor, hopefully before town hall floor.
I think it would be best if we could do more before, yeah.
Yes. That it?
That's it.
Anything else? Thank you very much, and just continue doing the fine job you guys are doing.
We appreciate the time, thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
We'll give them a minute to exit the room for their next meetings. Next item on the agenda is take action to renew the following taxi livery licenses and the taxi liver's driver's certificates for the period starting April 1st, 2018 through March 31st, 2019, subject to payment of the license fees and submittal of all requested renewal documents. There's two licenses, one Eric Young doing business as Sleep and Air Transportation on 8 Denica Drive, and Keith A. Gutierrez. If I mispronounced that, I'm very sorry.
Gutierrez.
Close, doing
Gutierrez.
business as Ace Transporters at 146 South Ave, Apartment 19. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, Frank? Is any issues on that?
No, just the required fees and forms that are necessary to complete the license.
All in favor?
Aye.
Act on the request of Richard Rosen on behalf of McWiggins Pub to conduct the 9th Annual McWiggins Pub 5K Road Race on Sunday, June 3rd, 2018, to close off Legion Parkway from 12 noon to 5 p.m., and a one-day liquor license to serve beer and wine from the tent set up at 552 Washington Street, subject to receipt of license fees. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I just want to say that this is what, their 9th year they're doing this, and they do a very good job, and it seems to have never been a problem, so.
Well, it's
Is Richard
been
here?
there
If you'd like
9
to
years.
give himself a post? No, he's not here. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Act on the following motion to authorize the issuance of bonds. Frank?
The town, as you know, voted in December to authorize the issuance of bonds to fund work for the water system and the water meters. The bonds have been sold. We have a significant premium, so instead of borrowing $3 million, we're going to borrow $2,820,000. The language for the vote appears in your agenda, so I'm not going to read the entire vote, but I would ask that the board vote to adopt the resolution as it appears in the agenda.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any other questions to Frank? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Frank. Act on the request of town clerk to authorize payment for attainment of the CMMC and place request for funding on the special town meeting warrant on May 7th, 2018. Frank?
Yes, there is a statute that is subject to local acceptance, which the town did accept in 2001, that permits a certified clerk, a Mass municipal certified clerk, to receive a payment of $1,000 in addition to any salary for the position. It's on the books. Ms. Varley has attained the certification and is requesting that she be compensated for it.
Okay, I have one question, Frank. Is this a yearly?
Yes.
Yearly stipend? Oh. Any other further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
There's no motion.
Oh, motion to accept?
You do need a
So moved.
motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, that being said, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Take action to sign the warrants for the March 17th, 2018 special town election.
There. That is a routine that we have to do in order for the town to actually hold an election. The Board of Selectmen is the sole authority for calling for elections. And it is circulating
We
as
don't need
we
a motion to do
speak.
that, right? We're just taking action to sign it. All right, I noticed our fire chief is here. And Chief, would you like to get up and give a little about what's been going on in the last week as far as safety issues, and finally we got our power back, and how hard your guys have been working on the street? So I just want to let it go and figure, hey, we're good.
I was trying to hide in the back of the room with Mary Beth.
I saw you.
Yeah. I'll just give you a brief update. As of,
Not as long as the emails you've been sending us like 5 times a day.
as
Which
pretty
were very
much
helpful,
about
thank you.
6
Yeah.
o'clock
Much
last night,
appreciated.
we were back to just about 100% power in the town. The storm came in, as you know, last Friday, I think it might have been Thursday night. My days were all kind of like Monday together right now. It came in a little bit stronger than what we expected it to do. About 3:30 in the afternoon on Friday, it really started to hit the fan around here. Power went out, it came back on. So at the height of the storm, we estimate somewhere around 75–80% of our town was without power. National Grid suffered catastrophic damage to their infrastructure system, which was of no fault of their own. It came down hard. We were one of the better fared towns in the area. Hanson, Situate, Cohasset, Norwell, Bridgewater, Pembroke still has residents without power as we speak this evening. All in all, fire rescue responded to over 100, and I think we're up to 130 calls now since Friday afternoon. I want to say that the police department is somewhere around 150, 160. It was a great effort between fire, police, and DPW in the school district. Everything worked. Nobody got hurt. We did the best we could to keep our taxpayers informed. When we saw that it was going to be a long, drawn-out process, I met with the Hanson Fire Chief, and we decided to reach out to Jeff Seismiak and open the high school as a warming center. Because of limited staffing, we could only open that during the day. The warming center is staffed by volunteers, and you can staff and you can train rather as many people as you want and whatever you want to train them in, but at the end of the day, they're volunteers. And if there's something else going on, they're not coming out. And that's something that we really need to look at. There has been some request to keep that open overnight. When you get into shelter operations, it's much more complicated, it's much more difficult. There's a lot of liability involved in shelter operations. It's staffed by trained people. You need a police officer there. You need medical staff there. So that's an area that we try to stay away from. But all in all, I think it went very well. I think National Grid, for the damage that they had at one point by the storm, every single substation was down except the DuPont substation. And that luckily is close enough that it fed this building, the fire station, my house, and like some other areas with power. I don't think that Randy had power, but or Dan.
I didn't have it for 3 days. This weekend coming, not as bad.
We made it through it. So the big concern right now is with this last storm we had, not exact numbers, but somewhere around 5 or 6 houses that were damaged from trees. There's one on Commercial Street that'll probably have to come down. There's one on Indian Trail that's sustained some significant damage. The problem right now is I know of at least 3 or 4 trees that are somewhat uprooted and they're unstable. So they're predicting us to have winds late tomorrow night into Thursday morning in the 45, 50 mile gust range. It's going to bring those trees right down. And when those trees come down, they're going to take primaries with them, they're going to take secondary lines with them, they're going to take house services with them, and one is probably going to land on a house. So there's a lot of damaged trees out there. I would ask the like residents to look around their yards and see if they have. I mean, time's up. The storm is coming at 2 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock. I'm like tomorrow afternoon, but we're ready. It's New England. It's Mother Nature.
Not to overstate the obvious, but for those people, particularly with pine trees, and some others as well, if you see the root ball lifting up right now, that's damage that occurred during the windstorm. That's almost a certainty to go down if you get
Right.
40 or 50 mile an hour winds from the storm.
And if that
for
tree is over
recreation-
your house,
Yeah.
you need not be in your house during the next storm.
And for recreation, if you want to run an indoor aquatics program, my basement is available.
I do want to give a shout out to the DPW. The town of Easton was severely hit. They had well over 200 trees go down. Yeah, that's nothing. Duxbury's 400 or 500 with seawalls and buildings watching over here. Yeah, but they identified one street with 7 to 10 poles down, wires and everything else. So they were reaching out through MEMA for DPW assistance with front-end loaders, chippers, DPW trucks and stuff to that effect. So Bruce today, actually sent a front-end loader, a dump truck, a chipper, and manpower over to Easton to help them try to get their streets cleared in preparation for this next storm coming in. So it's a good team effort, it's a good statewide effort, and things went well.
How many
Thank you very
calls
much.
do you think you handled from Friday to Sunday?
Friday to Sunday, we did 100 and, I think my count, when I picked my head up off my desk, was 107, I believe.
Heard them going all night.
Pretty consistent.
It's pretty amazing.
So
You all did a fantastic
Outstanding job.
we tried.
Outstanding
It was
job.
cooperation with fire and police and DPW. I mean, this town just clicks, and we've got some phenomenal people, some good department heads, and our staff is second to none. So,
Okay, thank you for that update.
thank you.
Thank you. Round the board, Frank.
Just executive session?
Wow. Randy?
Again, just thanking town employees for their work over the weekend, and I'll give another plug to Taste of Whitman and Hanson Thursday night at the VFW. Starts at 5:30.
5:30?
5:30-ish. We'll go with ish. That's it.
Scott? Brian?
I do not.
Amazing enough, I do not have. That being said, I need a motion to go into executive session in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. The chair so declares. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we'll be coming back into open session. We're going to sign the, we're just going to sign the
Bonds,
the insurance bond, the issuance
of
bonds, right.
bonds.
And there'll be no votes taken. We'll just be signing them when we come back into open session. And then after it's all signed, then we'll be adjourning. Thank you.